uh, online participants and our main guest speaker, Shri Sushil Panditji. Shri Sushil Panditji is our guest speaker is a very, very inspiring figure for all the youth, all the KP youth all around the world globally. And we wanted him on this panel for a very long time. After a lot of tries, we have finally got him on our panel as our guest speaker. So thanks a lot, sir, for accepting our invite from KP Startups to be our guest speaker today, sir. Thank you. I would, before we start this webinar, which is a very relevant topic that we have, I would just like to, tell you all a brief about KP Startups as to what this KP Startups is all about. Now, so the KP Startups, is an attempt to creating a platform for KP Startups and SMEs to come and work together. Now, our objective is to collaborate with all the stakeholders to help and support the creation of a business ecosystem in KP community. Now, KP Startup, envisages an ecosystem to facilitate learning, sharing, and mutual benefit and growth. One of our core priorities is the economic improvement of our community by being a force multiplier in intra-community trade. We also will actively work towards changing the mindset of our community from being a job-oriented community to a business-oriented community. Now, I would just like to give a little brief about Mr. Sushil Panditji. Now, uh, Sushilji is the owner of Hive Communications. He is into the field of media for more than 30 years, 30 to 35 years now. He is not only an entrepreneur, but one of the most visible voices of Kashmiri Pandits in national, international, global media, and and he is a person who takes up all the issues of Kashmiri Pandits in probably all the international forums, and you obviously see him almost on a daily basis in all the international and national media channels. So it is a great privilege to have Mr. Sushil Pandit on our panel today. And I would, this session would be, sir, as we have already shared with you the schedule of the webinar with everyone. Uh, we'll have a 30-minute presentation from our guest speaker. And after 30 minutes, the field will be open for all the attendees who can ask their questions and they can directly address it to our guest speaker. So I would now request our guest speaker, Shri Sushil Pandit, who incidentally was our first guest of KP Startups when we launched our KP Startups, in Delhi NCR. So he has been a very lucky person for all of us, and I would regard it only as his blessings that we have actually reached this far. So thanks a lot, sir. And now I hand over the field to you, sir. Thank you.
Namaskar, Abhinavji and the team in KP Startups. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I feel very fortunate to be privileged being on this platform and being associated with your journey from the very beginnings. I remember how we got together in a hotel's banquet hall at a mall. I don't remember the name of the mall though, but I very vividly remember my experience when probably less than 15 people got together over lunch or maybe after lunch uh, around afternoon and thought aloud about opportunities and the way ahead. I completely agree with and identify with the need for such a catalyst within the Kashmiri Hindu community, because there is a very age-old dictum, and I would like to remember here this on this occasion. And this is given by Chanakya, who wrote Arthashastra. This mantra starts with the first line, Sukhasya Moolam Dharmam. This is a globally acknowledged truth that we all pursue happiness. All individuals ultimately, at the very base, at the very root of our pursuits, which we call Purusharth, effort, endeavor, at the very root of that is happiness. What gives us happiness is what we pursue. So if we pursue happiness, sukha, in Sanskrit happiness is sukha, then what is at the root of happiness itself? And Chanakya says dharma. And dharma here doesn't mean the ritual of sounding the temple bell or some kind of lighting a lamp or following a ritual. No. Dharma means the path of righteousness, the path of virtue, the path of values that we hold dear. When we follow in that path, that gives us happiness, that gives us contentment, that gives us satisfaction, santosh, what we call. So, the assurance that I am on the right path and I do the right thing and I am not in the wrong, in the negative. This realization, this thought at the back of our mind is sukha, leads to sukha. So sukhasya moolam dharmam, to follow the path of righteousness, is what is at the root of happiness which we all pursue. And in the second line he says, dharmasya moolam artham, which means to be able to follow dharma, you need artha, you need resources. Without resources, without meeting of needs, you cannot follow dharma. You cannot follow dharma in deprivation. Very crudely put in a doha is bhukhe bhajan na hoye Gopala. So you cannot even remember God or worship him if you do not have the resources. So dharmasya moolam sukhasya moolam dharmam, dharmasya moolam artham. And therefore resources or money is at the very, very base of all our efforts. Unless we have those resources for which we make all the effort, we cannot follow dharma, we cannot do as we deem right. We have to then cut corners, we have to then, sometimes get tempted not to follow dharma. And that is the root of all the ills and root of all the grief. So, sukhasya moolam dharmam, dharmasya moolam artham. And to earn artha, to to create resources, we have to be entrepreneurs. We have to create jobs, create resources. And it is in that endeavor I see KP Startups as a great catalyst in our community. You are absolutely right. Centuries of relentless genocide had left us penniless. We were in pursuit of knowledge. Our community is considered the spearhead of knowledge traditions in India, which is why Kashmiri Pandits are held in great awe and respect the world over. Particularly Hindus across the country know that Kashmiri Pandits are intellectually gifted and give priority to knowledge above everything else. They seek knowledge, they create knowledge, they compile knowledge, and they disseminate, impart knowledge. So we were considered great teachers, great seers, great philosophers, and great practitioners of different streams of knowledge, different verticals of knowledge. Whether it was astronomy about the cosmos, whether it was grammar, whether it was health sciences, whether it was aesthetics, poetics, literature, you name it, music, art, architecture, yoga, or metaphysics, philosophy, which is why Kashmir was also called Sharada Pradesh, because Sharada is the goddess of learning. The world believed that the goddess of learning lives in Kashmir, which is why Kashmiri Pandits are so learned. And to be able to pursue knowledge, to be able to pursue learning, you had to be very well provided for. The resources, the material needs had to be fully met before you could indulge in such pursuits. And that was ensured by the state, which is where the third principle of Chanakya comes. The first I mentioned is Sukhasya Moolam Dharmam. The second I mentioned is Dharmasya Moolam Artham. The third is Arthasya Moolam Rajyam. How do you create resources? How do you build a material prosperity? Rajyam. And in the meaning of Rajya here means the system. A just and fair system. A polity, an economy, which is very well run and regulated. Unless there is a regulated or a very just and fair environment, system of mutual dependence, of give and take, which is fair, there cannot be an economy. So there was a system that patronized, that looked after these great masters, and hence they never had to worry about resources, about material needs. And it gave them enough leisure, therefore, to pursue knowledge. When the state patronage disappeared, when the state itself collapsed, that resource base, that material base disappeared. And when it gradually disappeared, the pursuit of knowledge, pursuit of dharma also suffered. And therefore, sukh evaporated. Happiness evaporated from Kashmir. So the great seer that Chanakya was, his worldview, his equation, I would call them equations, like there are mathematical equations. He had created these equations, social science equations, I would call them, if not algebraic equations, where he very clearly established the relationship, the cause and effect relationship between sukha and dharma, between dharma and artha, between artha and rajya. We are today trying to re-establish those equations so that we can ultimately again achieve sukha, which is what is at the very root of all pursuits, all purushartha. That is, to start with, the context in which I am talking to you. And therefore, I must now come to the crux of what I am saying, having established the context. Because the Rajya has collapsed, that system of patronage has collapsed, the resource base for our community has collapsed, it is on the shoulders of young entrepreneurs, risk takers like you and your team, that we need to rebuild that prosperity within the community. And it's a great commendable effort by KP Startups to rekindle that spirit of entrepreneurship, which must build a resource base, which must build the material reservoir for general prosperity within the community, spirit of entrepreneurship which should lead to the general prosperity within the community. In fact, the entire Hindu society has suffered from this deprivation. Let me share with you, population of Hindus in the world is about 15% of the global population. We Hindus, who are more than 1 billion across the world, are about 15% of the global population. But according to a rough estimate, our contribution to the global GDP is only 5% of all the Hindus across the world. So, among us Hindus are some of the poorest people of the world. The hardest and the most grinding poverty and examples of the most heart-rending deprivations, including starvation, are often visible among the Hindus of the world. And some of these poorest regions are within the country itself. Hence, we Hindus, no matter from which region, need to work harder in order to bring back that prosperity, because we are part of the larger Hindu community. and rebuild that prosperity, which was our hallmark less than 500 years back. India's share of global GDP less than 300 years back was more than 28%. That is when the slide began. The colonials and the Mughal invaders had been siphoning off and reduced us to grinding poverty. When they left in 1947, our share of global GDP was less than 2%. The average lifespan expectation of Indians in 1947 was only 28 years. We were suffering from famines and epidemics. We lived in a terrible time. We're very fortunate and privileged that we didn't see those times that our earlier generations suffered through. But we aren't out of those times at all. Some of us may be less unfortunate and may be doing much better in lives than our parents' generation or the generation before them. But the context of our effort, primary context of our effort, principal context of our effort is to build prosperity and bring back that resource base, restore it to our community, because as the young sons and daughters of this community, it is now our responsibility. This entire community looks up to us. We have the energy levels, we have the ideas, and we are the instruments, the limbs of this community to rescue it from these deprivations and these challenges that face us. And building a resource base is critical for not just survival, but for progress. And when the progress means catching up and bridging this huge gap of 10%, 15% population and 5% share of GDP is a massive gap. And we don't have the luxury of time because people will die. We will suffer. We will suffer from further loss of territory. We are a shrinking civilization. In the last 1,000 years, we've shrunk away from Afghanistan, we've shrunk away from Pakistan, we've shrunk away from Bangladesh. And indeed, we have shrunk out of Kashmir. So we are gradually shrinking. We are receding. We seem to be in retreat. And unless this resource base is restored, unless this prosperity is restored, unless that sense of security is restored, unless that confidence that we can do it is restored, this process of shrinking, the process of reverses, this process of retreat is not going to end. And this is how critical it is when I look at the big picture view of what are we doing and why are we doing it. In that context, the opportunities in Kashmir today do not exist because the state doesn't exist in Kashmir. The third dictum that I said, Arthasya Moolam Rajyam. In our own land, in the land of our ancestors, the land where we belong, the land that gives us our identity. We don't exist in that land. We were thrown out. The process of restoring us in that land hasn't even yet begun. So our economic opportunities in that land do not exist yet. We have to create those opportunities outside our motherland, wherever we exist. And some of you exist in the most opportune areas. Other engines of economic growth within the country: Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Chandigarh, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata. Our urban centers are the economic engines of opportunity, of entrepreneurship. And from these locations, we have begun to regenerate ourselves. The best way to speed up this regeneration is to find force multipliers, is to work together, is to become each other's strength, is by supporting each other, creating opportunities for each other, benefiting from each other in terms of experience, in terms of access, in terms of know-how. And indeed in terms of exchange to mutually benefit and grow. So from that perspective, the chartered accountants amongst us, the lawyers amongst us, the traders amongst us, the travel agents, the engineers, the manufacturers, and indeed the bureaucrats, the policymakers, we all need to come together. The entrepreneurs, the employers, people with skill set, people with capital, people with technology, people with qualification, people with approvals and licenses. We need to stand by each other. And if we can grow as a small community of Kashmiri Hindus, it will automatically lift one section of Hindu society and start changing the averages within the Hindu society. And when we connect with similar such catalysts across Hindu society, the entire Hindu society will grow, will stand up on its feet, will do much better. So never lose sight of this big picture as to why we are doing what we are doing. Our individual successes absolutely matter a great deal. It is critical for us to succeed individually. But our individual success as an island in an otherwise ocean of uncertainty will not help. We cannot be a standalone island of success. Unless we become a mainland of success where several such islands get connected through bridges, through causeways, and then become a much larger mass of such successes. As an island also, we cannot succeed unless we trade and connect with other islands. So critical it is to cooperate, to connect, to contribute and to benefit from others' contribution. And over and above, to be grateful, to be immensely grateful for these graces, for these helps, for these collaborations that give us more energy, that give us the much needed support to grow. I think with that sense of gratitude, we will be able to build abiding relationships. Very often, success or even a semblance of success tends to bring much avoidable arrogance. And that arrogance gobbles up humility and sense of gratitude. I think great investment in relationships is through a sense of gratitude, a sincere gratitude, where you genuinely feel grateful for an opportunity, for the help rendered, for the relationship, for the association, and build an abiding relationship. At the end of the day, it is these relationships which will take you far, because as a team, you are force multipliers. You can't imagine the amount of success you can achieve by working together as opposed to working alone. It is wonderful to be talking to you uh, in a time where opportunities abound. We are today speaking on a virtual platform because for the last 2-3 months, the world is facing something that was never anticipated, that we will experience in our lifetime. I have been confined to my home and happy to be so. Because for various reasons, I haven't eaten so many meals at home as I have in the last 3 months. And I'm grateful for the restoration of health because of that. I've never not rushed about to airports, to meetings, like I have in the last 3 months. In fact, in years, I saw a butterfly for the first time in my little lawn at home. The way nature has regenerated itself convinces me that COVID is not the virus, COVID actually is the vaccine.
Absolutely correct. You're right.
The kind of lives we were leading was a virus. And COVID has cured us to a very large extent. Why it is a great opportunity is because the world has to reinvent itself. As of now, a lot of businesses will disappear, completely disappear. Imagine airlines are not flying for the last 3 months. 5-star hotels are sitting empty. Restaurants are shut. Can you imagine cinema halls are completely shut? Sporting events are not taking place. Stadiums are empty. They have been converted into COVID facilities. Eating out is out of question. In every such upheaval, in every such phenomenal, profound change, are some immense opportunities. Opportunities to change. And unless we position ourselves on the right side of this change, we will be caught cribbing and complaining and not benefiting from it. So think hard. It is like a rebooting of our lives. It will delete a lot of unwanted files, lot of junk, release a lot of cache space, give you some more time to start afresh. How do you benefit from it? How do we profit from it? How do we deploy this change as a great opportunity? Depends on what kind of insight do we bring to it? What kind of understanding do we bring to it? What kind of new needs is the society going to come up with that we can meet better? How do we compete? How do we anticipate? How do we re-engineer our lives? And how do we emerge from this lockdown up and running, ready to hit the ground running? That is the challenge. And I'm sure the young ones in our community are blessed with great minds, uh, great ingenuity, great entrepreneurship to grab these opportunities with both their hands and make a great enterprise out of it. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity of speaking to you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Sushil ji. This was incredible. Whenever you speak, we are all ears, and it's all music to our ears, and you speak very good. So thanks a lot for being our guest, sir. Now what we can do is we can go to the next phase of this webinar, which is a question and answer session. I already have 2 questions from our members, and Sunil ji, if you can allow them to speak, they can enable their video also.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. So that they can directly speak to our guests. Thank you. We'll have this session for 20 minutes.
Kamal can start.
Thank you. Yeah, Kamal, you are on mute. If you could unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go on, go on. Thank
you. Sushil ji, it was really.
You'll have to repeat. I can't hear you.
Kamalji is speaking from Jammu, so there is a 2G issue. You can just remove the video. Your voice will be clear. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Sushil ji, it was immense pleasure hearing you out and hearing you on our own platform rather than on media platforms when we generally see you there.
Thank you so much.
It is always our pleasure as young generations that whenever we hear such a institution itself, that we learn quite a lot. And the biggest thing what you said, I liked out of what you said is that COVID itself is a vaccination for all of us, rather than being a virus. I have a question on behalf of our KPS startups, that recently we have heard about a word called Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yes.
Sushil ji, I would request you that you please give your insight on that. Is Atmanirbhar Bharat going to be really successful model for India in a very short term period? And what are the pros and cons related to it? Thank you.
Thank you, Kamalji, for asking this question. Our Prime Minister has given a call to the nation for becoming more and more self-reliant. A lot of people probably may have thought that in a globalized world where interdependence is a big given, emphasis on self-reliance may be running counter to it. But I believe we as a country are blessed with a big size, both in terms of geography as well as demography, population. This huge size gives us a great advantage. We have a captive market of consumers. Our geography is so diverse that we have almost all the material, natural resources that we might need. Our farm sector, our primary sector, produces almost everything that a modern, vibrant, successful economy may need. Our human capital, in terms of know-how, in terms of intellectual capability, whether it is through the scientists, whether it is through the technologists, whether it is through the economists, is capable of creating and making and innovating tremendously. For example, because we put our mind to it, we are at the forefront of space technology globally. Because our entrepreneurs and professionals put their mind to it, in the software space, in the technology space, we've proven our mettle in the world. In terms of our farm sector today, we not only feed a huge population all by ourselves, we are exporting a great deal of farm products. Our manufacturing sector is quite capable. Unfortunately, our policymakers had shackled our entrepreneurs by regulating, over-regulating through licenses, through quotas, through permits, through rampant corruption, had hindered our entrepreneurs. Otherwise, we would have been ahead of the world. The other day I was reading, our bike makers have beaten the Chinese hollow. This is one manufacturing sector which is globally acknowledged. Today, Honda is moving its entire bike R&D to India. Bajaj, Hero, and Venu Srinivasan's company,
I think TVS, right? TVS?
TVS,
Correct.
produced the cheapest and the best bikes in the world. Technologically, the latest and the most advanced in terms of innovation, in terms of engineering. And no other manufacturer in the world is able to beat them, whether it is in Africa or Latin America. And they are buying up the iconic bike companies across the world. So it is a matter of great pride when we put our mind and effort to it. Our pharmaceutical companies, our life sciences companies, biotechnology companies. When COVID hit us, I know a couple of entrepreneurs who created testing kits, which are the cheapest and the most effective and the most convenient for the world. So there is no reason why we should have too much dependence, and sometimes this dependence compromises our ability to be free. This call came in the wake of our dependence on China in the wake of COVID. When the Prime Minister called for Atmanirbhar Bharat, I remember some of the basic formulations that our pharmaceutical industry needed from China to come to create those medicines that the world needed. Why aren't we creating those basic formulations here itself? Those primary inputs for the drug making. We can very well do it. If you need scale, because very often they say China has the scale. But we are large enough to create scale within, right here. Why not? We not only have the scale, we have forward linkages. So why not have backward linkages as well? So look at those aspects of economy where our dependence is still on players outside, and the criticality of that dependence becomes some kind of a shackle, a roadblock, a hindrance, an obstacle in our growth. And our enemies, our rivals use these obstacles, use these hindrances for strategic advantages, for unfair, disproportionate advantages to our disadvantage. And if India today is focusing on import substitution, on self-reliance, it's a great opportunity. Whether it is this area of technology or the area of scale, this is one aspect of economy where you will not only achieve success, but also contribute to the success of India. Not only your own individual entrepreneurial success, but success collectively for the Indian economy and Indian nation. So Kamalji,
One of the
thank you
examples,
for pointing out this area.
one of the examples of collaboration and exactly what you're talking is regarding the PPE kit. I think 3 months ago, we did not manufacture even a single PPE kit. But now India is the second largest manufacturer of PPE kit around the world. So we manufacture around 3.5 lakh PPE kits per day. So, you know, if there is a will, there is a will, there is a way. So we have never tried to go for manufacturing. We were always hankered upon IT. You know, that is the problem, you know. So now we have started consciously directing our, efforts, energy towards manufacturing. And I'm sure Kamal Warikuji is a manufacturer. I'm sure there will be a lot of people who will take inspiration from him in spite of all the odds. He is basically based in, Jammu, but he was in, Bangalore for a very long time. And, you know, in spite of all the odds, I think he is doing a great job. He is fighting the odds. And that is why he asked you the question of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Brilliant.
Very interested to know whether it is
More power to you, Kamalji.
whether it is an
Yeah,
idea.
thank you. Thank you, Sushilji. Before we close this question, I would like to tell you that जो भी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में इश्यूज आ रहे हैं वो सिर्फ वही हैं जो आपने खुद बोला कि आत्मनिर्भर भारत तो हम बनना चाहते हैं. We want to be dependent, especially we are talking about Kashmiri Pandit team, but the administration, the policies, the undue advantages which they take with these youngsters is really going to make us physically challenged people rather than Atmanirbhar Bharat people. So that has to be taken care as our team, as the people who are experts, because यही हमको खराब कर सकता है, बाकी सब तो मेरे ख्याल ठीक ही है sir. Thank you sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamalji. We'll have the next question, please. Sunilji, I think Ash Rana ji and Mr. Raj Bhatt ji and Mr. Vinod Pandita, you can allow them one by one to speak. Thank you.
Raj Bhatt ji can ask.
Hello. Hello,
Namaskar,
am I
Raj.
audible?
You're audible.
Yeah. Please go on.
Namaskar, Sushilji. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's really a great honor to have an interaction with you. I have been watching you through Republic because I frequently watch that Republic channel, and the way you take up all those who try to raise issues and how you reply to them. It is very awesome.
Thank you so much.
The way you debate, it is a very pride for whole community. We feel pride because you are the only the person who gives a befitting reply, even if it is the news is towards Pakistanis or it is anti-national or something. You give them the really befitting reply, which makes us proud. So
Thank you
now
for your
coming to
kindness.
the question which is related to this topic is that, see, I am based in Gurgaon. So in Gurgaon, I know that if we want to have any startup or any business we want to touch, so there are ample resources, there are population is also a benefit, and there are so many opportunities over there here. So we can really take it overhead. But the thing is that if we want to tap the resources and want to start the startups in Jammu and Kashmir, as per you, what will be the areas of interest? What will be the focus areas where we can really tap and that will benefit to our community? And most important thing is the terrorism which is there. Maybe the business angle will divert that towards the opportunity and towards the growth of that state.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had indicated this in my talk as well, that Jammu Kashmir has to do a lot before entrepreneurs start looking at this state for an economic intervention or for starting an enterprise or start contributing there. This territory, especially Kashmir Valley as a territory, is not yet ready to receive us Kashmiri Pandits as entrepreneurs. But when it opens up for us, and I'll share with you what do I mean by opening up. Of course, we have to return to our motherland, Kashmir, and we can't wait to get there. But a few things have to happen before that. One most important thing is acknowledgement of what happened to us. Why did our parents leave Kashmir in the first place? Why did we leave Kashmir in the first place? A genocide was unleashed on us. Today we are called migrants. Migrants are those who come out of their own will. The government, the system, the judiciary, the establishment is unwilling to recognize, acknowledge that we were chased out, cleansed brutally from the state of Jammu and Kashmir 30 years ago. So there is no acknowledgement. Two, there is no justice. The victims and the survivors of this genocide are still awaiting justice for the last 30 years, and those who killed us have become big leaders. Those who caused it were till the other day looked after by the government itself. Their bills were paid by the government. And the government used to ask them, what is it that they would like to happen in Kashmir? So they were impacting the policy, they were impacting the decisions. They were actually treated like sons-in-law by the very system which is supposed to deliver us justice and punish them. So the second thing, after the first one, which is lack of acknowledgement, is lack of justice. Third thing, which very few people talk about, is that when we left, a lot of people told us that we didn't pull the trigger on you. There were others who were carrying the guns and who threatened you and who killed you and who chased you out. We didn't do it. Not all of us did it, which is right. Not everyone was carrying a gun and chasing us out. But a lot of people were waiting for us to leave to grab our homes. to grab our orchards and farms, to grab our shops and businesses, to encroach upon our temples. They didn't even leave our cremation grounds. So there is a large number of such people who did not carry a gun, but who benefited, who profited from our exodus, who came buying our homes in distress sales, bought them for a song, our lands, our immovable property. And nobody prevented. Because when we left Kashmir, we left barely with anything on us. Some money in our pocket and some clothes, that's about it. So if you had to raise children, look after families, treat your old parents, you needed money. And for that desperate money, we were willing to sell whatever we had in distress. So those who benefited from our exodus, profited from our genocide, also need to be deprived of that ill-gotten gain, because that remains as an incentive for genocide. Tomorrow, if we go there and build something new, they will again start eyeing it. And they'll say, commit another genocide so that we can again benefit from what they have built. Do you understand? If the beneficiaries of earlier genocide continue to profit and benefit from what they grabbed from us, it will remain an incentive to commit another genocide. Just as lack of justice becomes an initiative, an incentive to commit that crime again, because there's no punishment. So those three things have to happen first: acknowledgement of genocide, delivery of justice, and depriving the profiteers of that genocide, the beneficiaries of that genocide, from their ill-gotten gains. When these three things happen, we should be ready to move to Kashmir and rebuild our society. And imagine what a great economic opportunity it will be when all us Kashmiri Hindus will be given an enclave of our own Panun Kashmir. We'll build our own schools, run our own hospitals, build our own malls, create a new township, raise new orchards, start new trades, new businesses. It is like starting an entirely new habitation. From real estate development to all the facilities, all the infrastructure, a new economy altogether. So get ready for that. We will need every aspect of our everyday living recreated there for our community to start afresh. We have those capabilities. We just have to wait for these first three things to happen. And we are working on that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sushilji. I think we have next question. Next is Vinodji, Vinod Pandita sir, and after that, Ash Ranaji. Vinodji, you can speak. Are you there, Vinodji?
I have to.
Yeah.
Ash is on the line. That will you?
Sure.
Ash can speak. I'll make them on in the meanwhile. What do you, Ash, please?
Sushilji, namaskar from Brisbane, Australia.
Namaskar.
Good to hear you after a long time.
Are you in the middle of night right now?
No, it is 4:30 p.m. evening.
Oh, you are ahead of us. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. So I would keep my question to the entrepreneurship / business part of it, because a lot of people have covered the community aspect of it and the Kashmiri aspect of it. My question very specifically to collaborators within the business. So we might be having different people working in different lines, and within those lines, there will be somebody who will be working on the same technology, as an example, or same business model. Now, what is your mantra for them to uh, to collaborate with each other without keeping things like ego within themselves? So keeping ego aside, what is the mantra for collaboration for the businesses?
You see, businesses work on mutual benefit. Unless there is something for both the collaborators in it, collaboration doesn't happen. So this is a primary rule of business. What do you bring on table and what is in it for me? What is the unique contribution you bring to the collaboration? And how do I benefit from it? What do I bring in? So it is based on that mutual dependence, any collaboration. But primary element in any collaboration, without which no collaboration can even start, it's a non-starter, is the trust, mutual trust. I remember I used to have a boss and I was a vertical head in my system, and he would very often, I would say I need people and he would say go ahead and recruit. So I'd say any brief for me. He would be very clear. I mean, his language was colorful. So the words he would use is that to the effect that I would rather take a sincere and a well-meaning plodder than a smart aleck bastard. You know, I don't want those who are very gifted, very glib, very sharp, very, very capable and competent, but you can't trust them or can't be comfortable with them. You know, so there may be a lot of money somebody bringing in, there may be a lot of know-how somebody brings in, there may be a lot of doors somebody can open for you. But if you're not comfortable, if you can't trust, if you can't see long-term in that, if there isn't mutual respect in that, then it's not sustainable. Even if it happens, it will happen for a short term. So first and foremost is the ability to trust and respect each other. And then you can find ways and means very often where there is friendship, where the hearts meet. Then in order to work together, you can invent, you can figure out how to collaborate, where to collaborate. But where there is great complementarity, yet no respect, no trust, no comfort, then even that great complementarity goes a begging. You may need each other a great deal, but you may not be able to work together. So the chemistry is far, far, far more important. And sincerity begets sincerity, I think. Being clever in the short term doesn't pay. Doesn't pay. One has to be transparent, one has to be sincere, one has to be open and trustworthy to be able to be given that trust.
Thanks, Sushilji. Perfect.
Now I think Vinod Panditaji, you can You can ask your question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, very good morning, Sushil ji.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, all well. Thank you so much. Sushil ji, whenever we hear you as a community, trust me, you give us a new hope, and you are a great inspiration, and we really honor you. And listening to you every time is basically taking us one step forward. So thank you very much for that. First of all. You see, as somebody, you know, I have been into entrepreneurship for the last 20 odd years, and I've been, my profession is to help entrepreneurs to take them to the next level as a consultant, as a coach. So there is always a problem with the community, you know, because we are talking about the community. So I will be very specific to our Kashmiri Pandit community, whether it is socio-economic, whether it is anyway. A lot of work has been done last 30 years. It's not that I'm not trying to be very negative, but there is always a victimhood which most of our community brethren lives in. You know, I want that, you know, we should always overcome this scarcity mindset and be more powerful in our own thoughts and take things forward as individuals, so that, you know, we work together. So I would request you to give us some kind of because though every talk is inspirational, so we pick up everything from you. But one thing, you know, to the entrepreneurs from your side, that how can they overcome this victimhood of कि मेरे साथ ये काम नहीं होता है, या मुझे ये possibility नहीं नजर आती है, या बैंक वाला मेरे से बात नहीं करता है, या मुझे वो opportunity जो दूसरी कम्युनिटी को मिलती है मुझे नहीं मिलती है, तो मैं इसमें बिलीव नहीं करता हूँ. It is only that we are not prepared most of the time. It is not about Kashmiri Pandits only. It can be any other community. If the entrepreneur is not prepared, if he is not ready for taking up and getting benefits from the government, I think that is his weakness. So, couple of cents from you for our entrepreneurs.
I think, sir, I would just like to add a little bit on you know, what he has mentioned. I also would you know, like to ask the same question, a similar question. Whenever I meet anyone, any leader or KP or anyone, everybody has this feeling that, you know, this thing has happened with us. There is a sense of victimhood so much that even after 30 years, after having bungalows, after being right at the top of, you know, being MNC VPs, heads, and strategic heads, you know, somehow that sense is still creeping in. Are we operating from a position of strength, or are we operating from a position of weakness? And why can't we get over this syndrome even after 30 years? So, you know, I'm very sorry, you know, Vinodji, but your question was so brilliant that I had to, you know, add.
You're always welcome, Abhinav. You have all the right to pitch in, you know, and chip in, you know, all the time. Yes, Sushilji, please.
I think that's the privilege of the coordinator. That's nice. No, you know, I completely agree with you that we very often hear about from within the community voices giving disproportionate emphasis on what happened to us and why we are in this state, and a bit of complaint as to why us and why not kind of thing. But there is a contrarian view also. And let me, I don't know whether you've come across this kind of view or not. I have quite often, where we Kashmiri Hindus are blamed for having disproportionate clout to our numbers. They say, you ruled the country, you ruled the bureaucracy, you made policies. There was a time when you looked at anywhere at the top, there were only Kashmiri Pandits. In fact, from Kashmir, you were chased away because you had all the properties, you had all the jobs, you had cornered all the privileges. For the small number you were, you wielded disproportionate resources and clout. You know, from Jawaharlal Nehru to Indira Gandhi to D.P. Dhar to T.N. Cole to Fotedars to Hucksars and Katjus, we are told you guys are everywhere and it's about time you step back.
To wrap up.
So there is this view also where we are told that you've always ruled the roost without having the legitimacy for it. You know, these bureaucrats never won elections. I don't know how they climbed up. And these Indira Gandhis and Jawaharlal Nehrus won elections from UP. They were actually Kashmiri Pandits. What were they doing in the rest of the country? Kailash Nath Katju became Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Do you know this?
Yeah.
And they say, I mean, what business did you have to wield so much clout? One Haksar became the chairman of ITC. He says he was not a businessman or an entrepreneur. So there are these accusations as well. The problem here is of a balance, that our community has suffered from a genocide and nobody raised a little finger about it 30 years ago. Nobody did anything. They just sealed their mouths, the press, the parliament, the government of the day, the judiciary. Even today, I mean, 3 years back, we went to the Supreme Court and said, what happened to those thousands of FIRs? They said it's 27 years too late. And they slammed the door shut on our faces. The point is, there has to be a balance. Yes, our victims still await justice, and that needs to be reminded every now and then. But does that become a justification for we doing nothing, sitting on our fannies, just cribbing? No, not at all. And I feel our youngsters, our entrepreneurs, our professionals have excelled all over the world. They still turn up CEOs, they become corporate trainers, they are movers and shakers. They are great doctors, they are great engineers, they are great CEOs across the business horizon. And they've done very well abroad. And I visit them, I feel so good that they are doing well, and they are contributing to whichever society they live in. They participate. Yes, some of them could do even more, and you feel that they should be socially more connected and more active and not just obsessed with their individual successes. There is always a scope. But there is absolutely no justification for inactivity,
Yes.
for lack of initiative, just because we or our previous generations have suffered and were unjustly and unfairly deprived. Certainly not. And you know, this word victimhood cuts both ways. We cannot use this as some kind of a rationalization for our failures or our inaction. And I won't let my tormentors use it on me when I shout out loud that you've been unjust to me.
Agreed. Agreed.
You know, so we have to be mindful of it, that if Satish Tikku's family, Girja Tikku's family, Tikalal Taplu's family are still awaiting justice, then it is not their victimhood that they wear on sleeve. They show a mirror to the society and our establishment and our criminal justice system. Call it what you may, it's not the victimhood, it is just and fair demand, just and fair complaint. But for someone to not wipe his nose because he's poor is no reason.
That's not an excuse.
Sushilji, a lot of people tell me that, you know, too much of positivity is also a curse. You know, you cannot be too positive, you know. But I think I respect you for saying this, that you said that, you know, we have to strike a balance. I think we have to always rise and ask for our demands. And my only point here was to all the entrepreneurs here who are listening to us and who are listening to you, is that, guys, you know, just wake up to the reality and also get prepared. That's about all. So thank you for your wise words. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other attendee who wishes to ask any question to our guest speaker?
Sunita ji is there.
Okay. Sunita ji, you can ask your question. You are on mute. Thank you.
Sushil ji, namaskar.
Namaskar, Sunita.
It's really a great pleasure having you and talking to you. I really don't have any count of my happiness this time. I'm talking to you directly. This is really a great opportunity given by Abhinav ji. I thank him also. Well, a little introduction about me. I'm a career counselor by my profession. I counsel students at college level and school level as well.
Wonderful.
I impart coaching classes for competitive coaching which happens in J&K. I have my office in Gandhinagar.
Okay.
So my question is related to that only. Like we talked everything, businesses and all, but we need to have a platform for upcoming generation wherein I believe our youngsters need to get involved in because our children are just 12th, uske baad bahar. No one is ready to participate in state affairs. कोई भी जैसे KS हमारे बच्चे करते ही नहीं है. They don't get involved in those state matters, so that in coming times there are people among us who are there in that bureaucracy part, and then we look forward that we have our people who can actually give something better to the community as well. So just idea from your side and जिसको कहते हैं राह दिखाना, so that we can follow that, because me being into education sector look forward to get Kashmiri Pandit students who can get involved in all these matters, but I have not seen any since 2008. So this is a matter of not worry exactly, but we should think that way also. आपका एक थोड़ा सा उसमें हो, because I keep on traveling to Kashmir as well. I have my office in Srinagar, Rajbagh since 2011. So a difference between us and them, they get involved and they take part in every profession, but we have a limited professions. Our younger generations have limited professions to choose from. So for that, we need to give them a platform. They can have an options. Me being a career counselor, I'm always there to help. But still, a sentence from you can make a lot of difference for us.
Thanks. Sunita ji, you are attributing a lot more value to what I might think or say than I deserve. I'm grateful for that kindness. We are here thinking aloud to see what all we can do better. And in that respect, I think your observations are absolutely right. There was a wave some 20 years back where every kid, Kashmiri kid, was looking for an engineering seat somewhere. And
somewhere, sir, the only destination was Pune, Maharashtra.
So wherever they could get it. And before that, before our exodus, everyone was looking for medicine,
Yes,
to become a
absolutely,
doctor.
absolutely.
So we produced some great doctors, we produced some great corporate managers, because these engineers eventually ended up doing an MBA or finance, and then nobody wants to work on shop floor, nobody wants to roll up the sleeves and get the hands greasy and dirty. So not too much manufacturing experience, whether you are into mechanical or electrical or whatever. Everybody wanted to write codes. So, the wave of software professionals and all. These things come in waves. So a lot of our IITians and other engineering college students, pass outs, wanted to become software engineers and system analysts, irrespective of whether they did mechanical or electrical.
Absolutely.
So these things happen in waves. There was a time, as I was mentioning, we produced a lot of bureaucrats and diplomats. You know, some of the most well-known bureaucrats and diplomats were Kashmiri Pandits. And that wave happened in 50s and 60s. So and then 70s and 80s produced a lot of doctors, and then 90s produced a lot of engineers. I think we are done doing with engineers now. Uh, I seldom see a chartered accountant within Kashmiri Pandits, you know, that is
Absolutely.
one area, or not too many architects, for example. And we seem to have given a complete short shrift to liberal arts,
Yes.
to literature. Uh, Even as lawyers, we don't have,
Not much.
not many, though, you know, you do hear about a few Kashmiri Pandit names in the bar and the bench, but not really too many. So, and of course, in the bureaucracy now, we have a dwindling presence. You're right. I keep telling youngsters to start writing UPSC exams and regain their lost ground in bureaucracy, because bureaucracy eventually makes all the policies and impacts crucial decisions that the entire country and the society has to abide by. And if we lose our clout in bureaucracy, if we lose our ability to intervene in those processes, uh, we might be at a huge disadvantage. So, yes, uh, what I said earlier, balance. It is up to our parents and other torchbearers in the society who are opinion makers, such as you, in terms of career choices, in terms of vocations to go for. Because very often our parents force children towards one direction or the other, despite their other natural talent for something else. Uh, I think we need to be more liberal about diverse fields. One of the reasons I suspect, I may be completely wrong and I'm happy to be wrong there, is that our measures of success, our criterion of success has got very narrow in terms of how much money I make. You know, so money has become the biggest and the most important measure of success in life. So when it comes to that, then it makes a very lopsided growth of any society, and it reflects in the career choices and options that our children make. So to tell them what real success is critical, because that is what will give them uh, reasons to choose vocation in life. And here I must share with you my own predicament. I'm taking a little longer on this question, but I, whenever get an opportunity, never lose it for giving this two-penny bit that I learned a little late in life. I came across a word called upajivika. This is in Sanskrit. Upajivika. So I was a little curious, what does that mean? Because I had heard the word jivika. So when I asked a Sanskrit scholar, what is upajivika? He told me upajivika is all the endeavor, all the effort that you make in life in order to meet your needs and discharge your responsibilities. You know, so meet your material needs such as food, housing, clothing, other expenses, and responsibilities towards your family, towards your society, towards your relatives, friends, neighbors. So I said, but that is jivika, livelihood, you know, that is what it is. He says, no. That is upajivika. I said, then what is jivika?
Jivika.
So I was told Jivika is what you think you are born for. What you think you've been given this life for. And what you would like to do with this life. It is such a profound thought. What you want to do with your life and how you want to make your money or earn your bread are two different things.
Different things.
Larger issue is what you want to do with your life. Life is a gift. Life is just one time opportunity. And you can't waste it in just making money. Making money is something that you would do in any way. You know, everybody eats, everybody lives. Some live a little differently, but at the end of the day, contentment is what matters. No amount of money can give you contentment, but what you do with your life gives you contentment.
Right.
What you do, what you think your life is well spent, was well worth living, gives you contentment. If you are able to do it, otherwise you die uncontented, unsatisfied. So if we are able to give our children this ability to differentiate that, you know, there is upajivika and then there is jivika. There is a mission for life. There is an intention. There is a grand plan for life as to what is it that I want to do, what is it that I want to pursue, and what is it that I want to create or deliver as my life's end product, my life's mission. So take that idea or that objective to a very much higher plane, to a very exalted level. What is it that I want to do with my life? You know, it's a much bigger question than what job I want to do and how do I want to make my money and how much money do I want to make.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
a
sir.
lot, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
a lot.
I think we are already 20 minutes or maybe more, more than our scheduled time. So I would just like to close, but there is a very important question that we have. Sushilji, I would request a brief answer for this. It is a very important question. It is asked by Mr. Ankush Gadru. So, this will be the last question that we'll be asking. So, really grateful for being a part of this wonderful session. I wonder, after being such a small community, why we have such a diverse leadership and intense competition within the community. It's a very basic question that every youth now asks. Are we don't have a herd mentality? Maybe we are very intelligent as compared to other community, it seems, but not being united, such a small community. There are a lot of other communities which are much more united. They are also prosperous, like Persian community, like a lot of other community. Is there any issue with our community as such that we cannot unite ourselves and we have 300 parties, or there is some other problem, some endemic problem that we have? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So this is a perennial question I keep getting asked. And there was a time when I used to ask this question. And I've tried finding an answer, and I think since I've stopped asking this question, I've somewhere realized that when you unite, you don't unite for being united. You unite for a specific cause. Okay? And very often that cause is a challenge, an adversary. When the need to unite is to create a strength in numbers, and that strength in numbers is to match up with the challenge that you face and that can't be met without you becoming united. Okay, so psychologically, subliminally, at the back of your mind, need for unity. When do you call for help? When you know that you cannot individually handle things. When you can individually handle things, you don't call for help.
Absolutely.
So call for help is actually call for unity. And when everyone feels that we need to be together and help each other, it is because the challenge that you face is insurmountable unless you come together. All right. So inability to look at the challenge as something that calls for unity. That inability to look at the challenge as something that calls for unity is one big reason. Two even bigger reason are very often individual egos. You cannot unite with a person who is on a solo trip because he thinks he's God's gift to mankind. So problems are manifold. There are wheels within wheels. And sometimes it becomes an obsession. Why aren't we united? Why aren't we united? You tell me who is united. Hurriyat has so many factions. It is a platform of several factions. Where in the world do you see, even within the party there are factions, people are not united, they are bickering. These days you have elections even in a resident welfare association, which is hardly an office of power or profit.
And
You actually have to work hard.
And you're fiercely fought. I've seen it myself.
Yes, people go to courts.
Absolutely.
Even a mandir or mohalla samiti has, these frictions. So we should not be obsessive about unity, but yes, unity happens and unity is desirable if it is driven by commonly identified and adhered to goals. Unity is always caused by a certain factor. Without that factor, unity is impossible. So identify the factors, identify the objective, identify the goal which will bring you together, and not unity for the sake of unity.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sushilji. Now, this was a real magic session that we had with Sushil Panditji. As always, we really thank him for giving his views on a variety of subjects, and very gracefully answering question of all the attendees. I would really like to thank Mr. Sunil Trisal ji as well. Our digital IT partner, the global outreach partner of KP Startups. Without his support, things would not have been as we have done. So I would really thank all the audience as well. We have got audience in Facebook. We are live. We were live on almost maybe at about 10 places, 10 platforms. So I am really thankful to all of you, to all the audience who's there, the Facebook audience, the Twitter audience, the YouTube audience, everywhere. Thanks a lot, Sushilji. It is always a wonderful experience speaking to you, and we will call you again. So this will not be the last session that we have with you. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you, sir. Have a great day. Thank you, sir.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.